A family torn apart by terror. A close friend and colleague of Sir David Amess describes the devastation the MP's death has left behind.
The family distraught losing their father, Julia losing her husband. David was a wonderful man, and to lose someone like that in these tragic circumstances is so awful.
Following Sir David's death, the Home Secretary confirmed she's considering giving MPs police protection when they meet constituents. Also ahead, £1 million to save the planet. Prince William prepares to announce the winners of his new Earthshot Environmental Award. And Newcastle United face a difficult start to a new era as the richest club in the world.
This is ITV News with Lucrezia Millarini.
Good evening. A close friend of Sir David Amess spoke today of the pain his death has brought to his wife, son and 4 daughters. The family grieved in private today, but hundreds turned out to a series of services in the MP's constituency in Essex. In the past few minutes, they have released a statement thanking everyone for the wonderful tributes paid to Sir David following what they called his cruel and violent death. Meanwhile, a 25-year-old named Ali Holby is still being held under the Terrorism Act. Today, a number of properties in London were searched by police. Geraint Vincent has our first report.
At the edge of the scene of this dreadful crime, grateful constituents have now left so many flowers and notes of thanks to a faithful public servant. But David Amess was a husband too, and a father of 4 daughters and a son. And friends of his family were also here today.
The family are distraught losing their father, Julia losing her husband. David was a wonderful man, and to lose someone like that in these tragic circumstances is so awful. It really is tragic. I know that the family are grieving. They're speaking to the police and giving the information that they have to the police for the investigation.
Counter-terrorism officers are questioning a 25-year-old man named Ali Holby on suspicion of murder. His mother's house was one of a number of addresses in Greater London that police searched this weekend. It's also emerged that Mr. Ali, whose father was an advisor to the Prime Minister of Somalia, was referred some years ago to the government's Prevent scheme, which aims to stop people from being radicalised, a scheme which is currently under review.
It isn't possible in that programme or any other programme that you might design to absolutely get right every single time, to be able to stop every single attack. I'm afraid that is the tragic but unavoidable truth. But Prevent has helped to get many people back onto away from that path, and in so doing, keeping people safe.
As the investigation broadens, officers still guard the crime scene, and a sense of horror at what happened here, of course, persists as the police continue their appeals for information about an incident which saw an MP stabbed multiple times as he went about his constituency business. Sir David was a devout Roman Catholic, and at the Mass he would have attended this morning, they prayed for their missing parishioner.
David was listening to his constituents in order to help them build a better community. He sacrificed his life for the service of his brothers and sisters, and even at the age of 69, he worked untiringly, non-stop.
That work has been stopped now, and in the most brutal way, and that's why at this crime scene there is so much sorrow. In the last few minutes, as you mentioned, Lucrezia, the family of David Amess have issued what I have to say is a very powerful statement. They want to thank everyone for the wonderful tributes paid to Sir David following his cruel and violent death. They say they are enormously proud of him. Our hearts are shattered, they say. David was a patriot and a man of peace, the statement continues. So we ask people to set aside their differences and show kindness and love to all. This, they say, is the only way forward.
All right, Geraint, thank you. Well, Sir David Amess's death has led to an urgent review of whether MPs need greater protection. The Home Secretary said she was considering whether police protection was needed at constituency surgeries, and both Labour and the Conservatives have suggested his death could lead to more action against online abuse. As David Wood explains, politicians say the problems are getting worse.
Like all MPs, Ruba Huck wants to be out and about meeting voters. But away from the protection of Parliament, she has no more security than the rest of us. She held a constituency surgery at a nearby church on Friday afternoon, at the very moment Sir David Amess was doing exactly the same in Leigh-on-Sea.
This is a very rare one-off incident, but it's not a one-off anymore, because we saw the same with another good friend of mine, Jo Cox.
Should MPs be more protected in light of 2 murders within 5 years?
We live in our constituencies amongst our electorate. By definition of what we do, there's always people out there with a grudge who don't like you. I wouldn't want to live behind security grills and have a bulletproof existence. And, you know, MPs like meeting people.
Having paid her respects yesterday where Sir David Amess died, the Home Secretary is now reviewing the security for MPs.
This isn't about just saying, you know, let's just go for option A, have bodyguards or security. There's a panoply of measures, and we have to be proportionate in terms of the risk individuals are subject to. And that is based on one-on-one engagement with the police who do those assessments.
Physical attacks on MPs are very rare, but abuse is aimed at them on a daily basis, often online, with female MPs and those from ethnic minority backgrounds bearing the brunt.
They're Islamophobic as well, or get back to Bangladesh. You have to develop a bit of an armadillo hide when you're a politician and you take all this stuff.
Does it make you want to just give up being an MP, though?
I still think it's the best job in the world, and for me, I'm serving my local community that I grew up in, went to school with, that I still live amongst.
And that's why so many MPs do their jobs. But as threats against them increase, pressure grows on ministers to do more to keep them safe when outside their Westminster fortress. David Wood, ITV News.
Our Deputy Political Editor Anushka Astana is here. Anushka, MPs return to Westminster tomorrow. Just how big is the desire among them to make changes following Sir David's death?
I mean, I think this is a really difficult one because we pride ourselves on a political system where MPs, no matter how senior they are, have these links to their constituencies. You know, even the Prime Minister holds surgeries in his local constituency, and MPs I speak to really, really value that. But of course, they're really nervous, and not just MPs. I've had councillors tell me about physical attacks this weekend. I've had MPs' staff come to me with terrible stories, people even saying candidates are nervous. So lots of conversations about how to make it safe. One Conservative MP, Tobias Elwood, on social media was suggesting people pause face-to-face meetings. Others I speak to say it's so important that people can see us face-to-face. One was saying, you know, OK, I could have protection in my constituency surgery, but what about, for example, open office events or visits that I do? You know, they're saying it's actually quite complicated to get this right. And even if they pre-check people, they want to be able to help people who might have criminal records. All of this will be debated in the Commons tomorrow. I know friends of Sir David are particularly keen that this open system remains. There's going to be an opportunity to throw out tributes to him all day tomorrow.
All right, Anushka, thank you. On to other news. And the Duke of Cambridge is calling on humanity to unite to repair the planet. Prince William is hosting the first ever Earthshot Awards tonight with a star-studded ceremony, plus £1 million prize money up for grabs for 5 winners whose projects best offer solutions to combat climate change. Here's our royal editor, Chris Shipp.
Tonight's red carpet in front of Alexandra Palace was green. All the food meat-free, and of course Prince William and Kate arrived in a different kind of vehicle to their usual, an electric one. The ceremony for William's new Earthshot prize was attempting to be as kind to the planet as the finalists, to whom he will award £1 million each this evening. The guests and the supporters, of which there are many, have had to sign up to a green memorandum, which meant if you were performing like Yemi Alade or presenting an award like Emma Watson, you had to agree not to buy any new clothes for the event. Another supporter, Emma Thompson, said the world desperately needs an environmental award scheme on this scale.
I'm really proud. I think it was really such a great idea to have a big, massive, proper prize. £1 million, that's proper.
This is his baby, and it can be very easy for someone in that position to not put their head above the parapet.
The winners will be announced at 8 o'clock, but the finalists include this teenager in India.
At just 14 years old, Venetia Umashankar, a student from Tamil Nadu, has come up with the beginnings of a clean solution.
India's 10 million ironing vendors currently burn charcoal, which is a significant contributor to the country's poor air quality and carbon emissions. Venetia told us that her solar-powered ironing cart is at the core of what Prince William's Prize Fund is about.
Just knowing that someone will support us and there are people behind us who can help us upscale our ideas just means a lot to us as innovators, activists and industrialists.
Tonight is the first ever Earthshot Prize. 5 winners will be announced each year for the next 10 years, a project Prince William hopes will help find the solutions to some of the planet's biggest environmental problems. Chris Ship, ITV News.
Police have launched a murder investigation following the death of a 14-year-old boy in Glasgow. Justin McLaughlin was found seriously injured at High Street train station yesterday afternoon and died later in hospital. A soldier who died in a training accident on Salisbury Plain on Friday has been named as Private Jethro Watson Pickering of the 1st Yorks Regiment. The 23-year-old had been part of a crew operating an armoured vehicle at the time. And from today, train services on South Eastern, one of the UK's busiest networks, have been taken over by the government. It comes after the franchise, which stretches across South East England, failed to declare more than £25 million of taxpayer funding. To the Premier League, where a new era at Newcastle United has got off to a difficult start after being taken over by a Saudi Arabian finance consortium. They are now the richest club in the world, but the new owners have faced a reality check with the club yet to win a match this season. And Tottenham in no mood to change that record. Chris Scudder reports.
Out with the old and in with the new. Life's rarely just black and white at Newcastle. And from the grey of the Bladen races, St James's is suddenly Jeddah and sunshine.
I think most of Saudi people, they gonna support Newcastle because it's like our team now, you know.
Now we got all this money, 30 times more than Abramovich, we're in with a shout, you know what I mean?
But it's a controversial takeover, and Saudi Arabia's human rights record is a big talking point.
And yes, there are the human rights issues, but I think all we can do is hope that by highlighting it, it can be educated and things might make a change that way.
After the Ashley years, suddenly the stadium was transformed. A beaming new Saudi chairman, flanked by deal broker Amanda Staveley and a dignified Steve Bruce, widely tipped to leave the club, but still in situ. His team hadn't won all season, but after 1 minute, 46 seconds... It didn't last.
And Dombele has Spurs hit back.
And before you had time to say takeover, they'd been overtaken.
It's a goal for Harry Kane. Welcome to the world of football.
A medical emergency in the crowd then took the players off the pitch, and when they returned, a third Spurs goal from Heung-min Son made it a long way back for Newcastle. For all the talk of huge spending, right now they remain in the relegation places. They can afford big players, but they cannot afford to go down. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
And with the match in injury time, the score is 3-2 to Tottenham. Meanwhile, in today's other Premier League fixture, West Ham beat Everton 1-0. The only goal of the game came from Angelo Ogbonna, taking the Hammers up to 7th. And that is it. I'm back with the late news just after 10. Until then, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.